An Alabama prosecutor has decided to drop charges against Marshae Jones. Jones was 5 months pregnant when she got into a fight with another woman in December in a Birmingham suburb. She was shot during the scuffle and as a result suffered a miscarriage. A grand jury indicted Jones on manslaughter after police argue she was culpable because she started the fight. Police also charged the woman who shot Jones, but the grand jury decided not to indict her. The district attorney handling the case had the power to decide how to proceed and again elected not to move forward with a trial. A CBS News legal analyst Rikki Klieman is on the phone with us. All right, Rikki, a wild case, but what do you make of the DA's decision here not to follow the recommendation of the grand jury and not to follow through with these charges?
Well, I confess that I'm absolutely amazed. Not that I necessarily would agree that charges should be filed, but considering the fact of what the basic law is concerning a fetus in the state of Alabama, because a fetus is treated as if a fetus were a life being, a person the same as a newborn child or an older person. And so there is a preference, at least in public policy in Alabama, particularly lately, that the civil courts and the criminal courts are going to go forward to try to protect this fetus by using both civil and criminal law. However, we have to look at the facts of this case, and the facts of this case wind up with a decision that the shooter gets to go walk away because the shooter allegedly acted in self-defense. So the mother, the woman who would become a mother of a child, but who has a fetus at the time with inside her body, the mother, because she was the aggressor, that is, that she and the shooter were fighting over a man or about a man, that she then gets charged, but yet she's the person who has probably had the most tragic event in her life.
Absolutely. But I mean, what do we make of her attorney's argument that, yes, this is the law, this is the legal theory, but that this outcome is, quote, unreasonable and unjust? Doesn't the district attorney, isn't she able to give some weight to that?
Well, I think that the defense attorney's argument is well taken, that it is unreasonable and it is unjust, particularly under the facts of this case. However, this is a courageous district attorney, because you've had a grand jury that decided that they would go forward or should go forward with a charge of manslaughter, a 20-year imprisonment crime. So it wasn't like the prosecutor was presented with a blank slate. The prosecutor was presented with the thought of a grand jury. They considered judgment of a grand jury, and the prosecutor decided to do what she believed was just. And certainly in most states, this case would have never been prosecuted in the first place.
It's a fascinating case. It's so interesting that the grand jury defended the woman who actually shot the pregnant woman, said, look, she was acting in self-defense. But then when it came to Ms. Jones, they were willing to pursue charges. It's sort of fascinating how they came down on this.
Well, it's fascinating, but if you look at what has happened recently with the Alabama abortion law, in terms of Alabama making a decision for the state of Alabama, that life really does begin at conception. That is really what people in the grand jury may have assumed was the law. And if that was the case, that they were going to go forward with what they believed was the law. But the prosecutor really decided that this was such an unjust result. I mean, this is a woman who has lost a possibility of giving birth to a child, who may have been healthy and wonderful and just the joy of her life, and yet she's being prosecuted with manslaughter by a grand jury to possibly face 20 years in prison. Now, I understand, Paula, and I know you do too, that if you're 5 months pregnant, you ought not to become an aggressor in a physical fight, but nevertheless, that is some punishment if you were to go forward as a district attorney with the view of the grand jury. It's actually quite remarkable that the prosecutor was this brave.
Remarkable indeed. Rikki Klieman, thank you so much for joining us.